Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another edition of the Fantasy Football Universe, where you get to watch me struggle through illness to do yet another mock draft, because I'm sure we haven't done enough of them yet. But this one's an important one. We've got a legendary guest, that I'm not talking about Hollywood Jack over there in wherever the hell you are, Hollywood. Today, we are joined by Pat Fitzmaurice of Fantasy Pros. Thank you for taking the time out to join us, Pat. I know it's a busy time of year for especially the guys who do this full time like you. So how's it going, Pat?
Oh, the pleasure's all mine, Aaron. Great to join you and Jack. And you don't have to, I don't know, do too much to get me excited about doing a mock rookie draft just over a week before the actual NFL draft. Like, I've got rookies on the brain. So this is a nice release. I'm fully caffeinated. Can't wait to get going.
Awesome. It was funny. So far, we haven't had any technical difficulties. You were, when I first started my podcast, you were the first actual big name guest I had. And I told everyone the story. About 4 minutes before you came on the show, my computer decided to do a forced update, and I had to stream you from my phone for the entire show. So
I think I remember that.
We're off to a bit of a better start. How about you, Hollywood Jack? What are you doing?
Yeah, man, just loving life because we have this fantasy rookie 3-round mock draft. So I'm ready to go, and can't wait to get this started and gain all the wisdom we can from Pat, because that's why he's here, to tell us why all of my picks are wrong.
Well, I'm not going to lie, Jeremy. Like, generally, I tell you why all your picks are wrong, but
that's also true.
You being in Hollywood in the shades, you instantly seem to have more credibility. So I might start listening to you. It's just Hollywood Jack. You should be Hollywood Jack from now on, I think.
Well, it's funny you mentioned credibility, because yes, you do always tell me why my picks are wrong, but I don't listen to you. I will listen to Pat.
All right. Now you're just being mean. You're just being mean. All right, I guess we're ready to kick off 3 rounds of the Ben Sinnott Love Hour. I mean, a mock draft. Sorry, we'll try and stay on topic here. We've got par for the course. So 3 rounds, Superflex, tight end, premium. We are having an issue with the 104. That's why I'm kind of stalling. It's my buddy at work, and he says it's not coming up for him. So we'll see when it gets to him what the issue is. I'm going to kick us off and send a message trying to figure out what the heck's going on with them. Just started. Not great. So someone's here and put it on auto. Gotta love that. So we have Jaden Daniels as the 101. I haven't seen a whole lot of that. And then we go Caleb Williams at the 102. I will stop for the people who are in the draft at the end of each round to do a brief recap here. We have Dylan at the 103. Pat, what do you think of that? Jaden Daniels over Caleb Williams for you?
That's spicy. That's not personally the way I'm going. I love Caleb. I think he's a pretty foolproof prospect. I don't know if there's another totally foolproof QB prospect in this draft, but like, obviously the rushing upside with Jaden Daniels is pretty intoxicating, and I understand the pick.
Yeah. In terms of, so we saw Marvin Harrison go 103, Pat. In terms of your own rankings and how you're feeling about it, are you taking Harrison and potentially any other wide receivers over some of these other quarterbacks here? Or is it kind of a run of 4 quarterbacks like we expect at the beginning of the NFL draft for you?
I love Harrison. I think maybe he's the best wide receiver prospect we've ever had, as far as just, kind of flawlessness in his profile. So in my most important home dynasty league, I hold the 102 this year. I'm going to be picking Harrison there after Caleb goes 101.
I think it's a little too early in the morning here. We've got a couple of people who are in the draft but aren't getting into it. Oh, one sec. I'm getting a message from the 104. It says he's on the clock, but it wouldn't let him pick. That's odd. Yeah. So he got auto.
Sometimes sleeper. Some guys, if you're listening, sometimes sleeper, you have to kind of sign out and sign back in. It has an issue every once in a while if you've been signed in for too long. So just check that out.
Yeah, he's showing me screenshots. It showed that he was on the clock, but wouldn't let him make a pick. Fitzy going with Brock Bowers there. What are your thoughts there? Is that three QBs gone, 3 wide receivers go? Is this the earliest you want to take Bowers, or do you feel comfortable pulling the trigger earlier? I've seen him go as early as like the 103.
In a tight end premium, I think you can make the case that he should go earlier than 107. But it was just kind of a no-brainer for me. I do see like a big 7 in this draft. Bowers is part of that, and with him being the sole remaining guy left in the big 7, I'm taking him there even in a non-tight end premium, but in a tight end premium, it was an easy choice.
Well, Pat said he takes the no-brainer there in Bowers, and we move on to me, who has no brain. So I took JJ McCarthy because McCarthy guys. So what am I going to do? Then we have AD Mitchell. So what's up?
I'm curious because a lot of the chatter, we don't know what to believe, right? And in the lead up to the draft, there seems to be a little bit more smoke. But a lot of the chatter lately is JJ McCarthy is going top 6 for whatever team decides to trade up to him. So, Aaron, are you assuming he's going top 6 here, or does it matter to you, JJ McCarthy, just at the 108 no matter what?
I'm assuming he's going first round. I don't necessarily think we hear this every year, though. There's a quarterback out of nowhere he's going to go top 2. He's going to go top 5. We did this with Malik Neighbors, and I don't think they're at all the same prospect, but I don't really buy into this. 1 minute he's going to, sorry, I'm going to pause this quickly. 1 minute he's going to Washington, then he's going in the second round, then he's going to the Raiders, then he's like, I don't believe any of this stuff. So I just liked him as a prospect, but there is some admitted Michigan homerism here. So I'm going to recap quickly. We started off with Jaden Daniels, Caleb Williams, Marvin Harrison Jr., Malik Neighbors, Roma Dunze, Drake May, Brock Bowers, JJ McCarthy, AD Mitchell, Brian Thomas Jr., Xavier Worthy, and Ladd McConkey. I think that's a pretty standard round. The only thing we've been seeing in a lot of our drafts, sometimes this McConkey pick or even one of the 2 Texas receivers can sometimes be either Michael Penix or one of the running backs, but none of the running backs snuck into the first round here. Does that surprise you at all, Pat? Do you have a guy you want, a running back in the first round?
No, I think it was pretty chalky. I personally would not take a running back until about midway through the second round. I don't have any running backs in my top 15 for Superflex.
Who's your top one?
It's now, let's see. Sorry, I have to look at my board real quick. I know I just tweaked it a little bit.
Changes all the time.
I know. I moved Jonathan Brooks up to number 1. I had him at number 2, but
hard to argue.
The more I've read, yeah, and I wish he didn't have the injury. I think he'd be a clear number 1 if not for that. But I've decided with the reports sounding like he's going to be ready for camp, I'm comfortable with him there.
I do that all the time. I say, oh, yep, my RB1 is this guy. And then someone will comment, no, it wasn't. You updated this morning. He's your RB2 now. And I say, crap. I forgot I updated my rankings. All right, let's get back into it here at the 201. I expect to see some running backs go, probably a quarterback. Troy Franklin, for some reason, he's the guy who falls. Remember when this started off and it was him and Roma Dunze battling it out for who was wide receiver 3 and 4? And then it looks like he wasn't terrible at the combine or anything. All of a sudden now he's like consensus wide receiver 8. And I'm not sure why all the Troy Franklin hate. Are you in or out on Franklin there, Pat?
I guess I'm out relative to market. He's kind of towards the bottom of my top 10. But interesting. Like I'll probably have some of him in best ball. I just don't think he's going to be a high volume guy in the NFL, at least not right away.
Yeah, exactly. And that, for me, was kind of the issue why I took Ladd McConkey over Troy Franklin. The production is great from Franklin, but I think Ladd has that possibility to be more of a high volume, closer to the line of scrimmage type of guy. Troy Franklin, if he turns into kind of a Jameson Williams, stretch the field, you're going to get those big boom bust games. So I want the consistency. So I agree.
You liar. You would have taken McConkey at 104 if we had given it to you.
No, Xavier Worthy got sniped from me. That's my guy. I want him.
Oh, I told Brad to do that. I said, make sure you're in here so you could snipe Jeremy every round because you picked right before him. So he said he'll make sure he stays in here just to piss you off. All right. See, we've got the run on running backs here. I think we're going to see this, but draft capital and landing spot is going to kind of separate this rather large group of whether it's 4 or 6 for everyone. The guys who get the day 2 capital and a decent landing spot, I think will push to the end of round 1, even early round 2. And then the rest of them are going to fall to the back half here of the second round. So right now there's no landing spot. There's no draft capital. So everyone's clumped together. Then we see two quarterbacks go off the board here. Where do you stand, Pat? Penix or Nix?
Penix. Love the arm talent. I mean, I think he's just ready-made to come in and be a pocket passer for someone, kind of a classic guy, but he's also not going to be a sitting duck like Phillip Rivers. I mean, the guy ran a 4.58 at the combine at his pro day. So I like him a lot. I mean, I know the injury history is the concern, a couple ACL tears, a couple shoulder injuries, but man, I think he's a guy who could come in and make a pretty quick transition to the NFL.
He didn't have to go to his rankings for that one. That was an instant answer. Who do you like? Penix, instantly. How about you, Jeremy? Are you Penix over Nix? I'm pretty sure you are.
I'm definitely Penix over Nix. I think Nix is fine, but Penix just put it all on the field last year and led his team as well. And by all reports, the NFL loves him in terms of the interviews and stuff. So I like Penix. But I'm really interested to get your take on this, Pat. We had Andrew Cooper, Coop a Fiasco on Twitter on the program I think it was about a week ago. And he did a deep dive into quarterbacks, and he mentioned this stat, which I thought was phenomenal. These are the QBs that are drafted in their draft order in the actual NFL draft and how they perform for fantasy. He said the QB1 is responsible for something like 23% of QB1 seasons in fantasy. The QB2, 20%, and then it falls off a cliff starting from QB3. So the third QB drafted had 8%, and then it went down to 6-5. So the idea is the QBs who are drafted later in the NFL don't necessarily produce those elite quarterback seasons in fantasy. What do you think about that idea? And does that throw you off of like Penix or Nix?
I mean, I buy it and I understand. Like those guys are definitely not can't miss guys. But, you know, I feel pretty good about Penix just because I think he probably would have been, were it not for the injuries. I mean, I think we'd be talking about him as a top 7, top 8 pick in this draft. So, I feel pretty good as long as he stays healthy that he's going to produce. I mean, Nix, I understand the concern. There's a guy who threw like more than 400 screen passes over the course of his college career. But Nix is interesting in that he has started like 61 college games, which is probably more than anyone in history. And it makes me think of Brock Purdy and how he was Mr. Irrelevant, but he had a lot of playing experience at Iowa State and made a shockingly smooth transition to the NFL. Maybe we see something similar with Nix.
All right. To recap the second round, we have Troy Franklin, Jonathan Brooks, Michael Penix Jr., Trey Benson, Blake Corum, Bo Nix, Keon Coleman, Marshawn Lloyd, Roman Wilson, Braylon Allen, Jalen Wright, and Ricky Pearsall. Is Pearsall who you were hoping for there, Jeremy?
No, I was hoping for one of my running backs here, and Marshawn Lloyd goes at the 208 and Wright at the 211. Pearsall's a nice consolation prize, though.
I was coordinating with Brad here, doing our best to make sure we sniped both the running backs she wanted. Mission accomplished. Thank you very much.
Well, that's all right. I'm pivoting and I'm building the all PPR team here with Pearsall. So we're hoping for volume here.
Awesome. Remember back not that long ago when in the days of Jatavian Sanders, early second round pick, boy, has his steam faded off pretty quickly, hey?
It seems like it. Yeah. I mean, it just like after Bowers, I'm not sure there's a sure thing at tight end. So I couldn't take any of the tight ends before like mid third.
Oh, well, we're going to see one go in the third. I can guarantee you that. There will be a Ben Sinnott appearance at some point in this third round by one of us. There's no way with me, Brad, Jeremy, and Jesse all in this round. Someone's going to take him. I took him last night in a startup draft just for kicks.
Pat, do you have a tight end too? Do you like Sinnott? Are you in on someone else at tight end too, or is it going to be more draft landing spot dependent for you?
I've got Sanders 2 and Sinnott 3, but like you could probably talk me into flip-flopping those guys. I know my guys at Fantasy Pros, Thor Nystrom and Derek Brown, love Eric All from Iowa. I think he could be in the running for TE2 if he hadn't had so many injuries in college. So, it's kind of a mishmash, I think, after Bowers. Yeah.
See, that's one, and it's admitted early bias I can't get around because he started at Michigan. And I remember it was the same with Zach Charbonnet. They both started at Michigan, and they were terrible in their time at Michigan. And I get it. Players can grow and develop in a new situation. I've just never been able to get past the bad first taste he left in my mouth. And I can't seem to come around on him. Oh, and Todd, my buddy at work, he couldn't auto draft. He had to come back in and snag Ben Sinnott from me. This is unforgivable, Todd. Do not message me for trade advice anymore. You will never be forgiven for that. All right, Pat, who are you looking for? I know you got one person before you here. Hopefully he won't snipe you. Who are you hoping to get with your third pick here?
I got to try a running back, I think. So it's one of two guys. Let's see. I am going to go with maybe the slightly safer of the guys I was considering, Will Shipley. I think Shipley has a pretty high floor for fantasy just because I think he's such a good pass catcher and like he'll instantly be able to come in and play on third downs for an NFL team. But I think there's early down upside too. So I think he's got a number of outs as a way to different paths to fantasy success.
I'm going to pause this briefly because I was too busy listening to you to make my draft pick, but I also was thinking the same thing. I wanted a running back here because I don't really like anybody in this range, but you took the one I wanted. Estime I liked, but that combine combine was absolutely terrible. Oh, sorry for pausing it, guys. I was too busy listening, but
no, you're fine. But I'm out on Estime too because it's not just the combine for me. He's pretty upright, obviously. It's that speed. He looks good on tape. The issue for me is, I think that translates in the NFL, but he's more of a fall forward kind of guy than he is going to break it off. And I want the upside shots like you took here, Pat, with Will Shipley. I think if he lands in a clear third down role somewhere exciting like Kansas City, maybe, and can kind of build off of some early work, I think Shipley is good, has the opportunity to carve out a nice role for fantasy.
It didn't give me my pick, so I'm making it manually. I don't like any of the guys in this range, just for the record. I was going to take McMillan, but I'm going to trust Debro here, and I'm going to go with Burton. Who's on? Oh, I'm on auto pick. All right, sorry guys, continue. I had a little mix up there.
No, all good. So how are you feeling about Jermaine Burton? Pat, I know Debra was on here a week or two ago and just like fawning all over him. And we had to go back and watch the tape. We kind of agree, but obviously there's, like everybody in this range, there's some red flags mixed with some kind of elite traits. What are you thinking?
Oh, yeah, there are a lot of red flags as far as his personality and how he's going to fit into a locker room. I mean, apparently he is not beloved by some of the coaching staffs he's worked with during his time in college. But based on talent alone, I think he's probably like a mid to late second rounder in rookie drafts. So good value on him there as a third rounder. Like wide receiver, it's a position of divas. There's some difficult personalities among the wide receiver population. And, he would not be the first guy who's, maybe a tricky personality to pop in the NFL. I mean, Terrell Owens had a pretty good career and he was never the easiest guy to manage. Antonio Brown, et cetera, et cetera.
I actually, as far as day 3 receivers go, that's one of the things I prefer. Players who fell because of character issues, medical concerns. I don't really want the guy who fell to day 3 because he wasn't really that good. Give me the guy who's talented, but fell for a reason. Like, what do we have? We've got Stephon Diggs, Tyreek Hill, Antonio Brown, all fell. I don't expect him to be those guys, but there's plenty of guys who fell. The one I was in on was I want to say John. It was Justin Ross. He fell because all the medical concerns. I know he hasn't hit. Yep. He had some off the field issues, so they don't always work out. But late when you're throwing darts here, anyways. Give me a guy where if he can get his shit together, he has the upside, as opposed to some of these guys who are a little more bland and not nearly as high upside. All right, Pat, you have Brock Bowers, Keon Coleman, and Will Shipley. What do you think of this? Do you like this if you leave here with the 107? If you leave with these 3?
Yeah, I'd be pretty thrilled to get Coleman mid-second, honestly. I mean, I depending on where his draft capital ends up being, I'd maybe take him somewhere late first, early second. Like, I love the guy. I mean, I think this guy was born to catch footballs. Just such an acrobat. And I know he's not an elite separator, but I think he belongs in the category with guys like Des Bryant, Mike Evans, who are not big separators and not big yak guys, but can be huge air yards guys in the NFL who catch the ball downfield and just have the body type. I mean, he played basketball at Michigan State.
Yeah, that's what I remember of him.
Yeah, and he plays like a rebounder. He is one of those above the rim guys. And just like so big and strong and acrobatic. Like I love Keon Coleman. So getting him mid-second was kind of the highlight of the draft, I think.
Well, if Keon Coleman is going to be the next Des Bryant, I better tweet him soon, because if he's the next Des Bryant, it means this time next year he'll have me blocked on Twitter. Much like that. So, how about you, Jeremy? What do you go? Oh my God, Jeremy! I just looked at your team. You know, there's other positions beside wide receiver, right? It's all
not in fantasy, baby. My wide receiver love knows no bounds. But a point on Coleman really quick is, for me, when we look at, there's production, there's one thing, and then there's situation. And in college, Coleman obviously had Jordan Travis and whoever was backing him up when Travis went down. It was kind of a bad situation all around for those Florida State wide receivers this year. So I think the Coleman hate has gone too far. That being said, I'm comfortable where he is in the draft here, but if he is there, I think it's also a value. And that's kind of why I went wide receiver with all three of my picks. I just kind of looked at the value that fell. In terms of the running backs, I was hoping to get one. In terms of Ben Sinnott, if he's going early third, like we think he should, I would hope to get him later where I was, but I'm comfortable with these guys. We'll be the all PPR team in this league, and we'll try to just collect all the slots we can. 100, catches season guys. Let's go.
Yeah, the value you got on Pearsall and McMillan was fantastic. I mean, Pearsall especially. If Coleman had gone the pick ahead of me, it would have been between Bo Nix and Pearsall for me in that spot. And McMillan, just kind of under the radar because he missed some time with and tried unsuccessfully to play through a knee injury in 2023. Yeah. But in 2022, he had more catches and more touchdowns than Rome Odunze for Washington. I'm not saying he is the prospect that Odunze is, but to be able to produce on par with Rome Odunze a couple of years ago gives you an indication that McMillan's pretty good.
Yeah, you went with the ultimate draft for value, trade for need build here. That's for sure. You did get good value, though. I went with an odd build that I don't normally take, like JJ McCarthy at the 108. That's pretty much a standard pick for me. Marshawn Lloyd is quickly becoming my preferred running back here. I have Benson and Brooks above him, but Lloyd always seems to fall to me, so I take him. And Burton is a guy that I had no picks made. What we do? Probably we've done 30 of these. I had no Burton shares through 28 mock drafts. The last 3 or 4, I've been taking him in the 3rd round. Thank you, Debro. That's the Debro effect. I get him one mock draft where he's on our show, and next thing I know, I'm drafting Tremaine Burton every single mock draft. For either
Aaron, that's kind of an interesting point because the thing that I always look for is, especially with these later round darts, is like guys who have elite traits, right? I think that landing spot will matter after the draft, but right now, I don't necessarily want a guy who does everything well. I want a guy who kind of has that elite, trait in his tool bag. And I think with Burton, with some of these other guys like Shipley, we talked about a little bit earlier, these guys have the potential to pop off in the right situation because they already have that elite ability or skill at their particular position.
And by the way, Aaron, you would get an A+ from Debro on that draft because he has Marshawn Lloyd as his RB1 in this class. He loves Marshawn Lloyd. So for you to get him in the back half of the 2nd round would definitely get the Debro seal of approval.
I think I have him as my RB2 as well. So, all right, Before we close it out, who do you guys think went too high, and who is one player who went too low? Anything stand out as way too high or too low?
Go ahead, Jack.
Let's see. I'd love that.
You're Hollywood Jack from now on, Jeremy.
Yeah, I think, and this is something we were talking a little bit about before, but I think the quarterbacks for me, quarterbacks 5 and 6, whether you're a Penix or a Knicks fan, that's too early for me in the early 2nd round. Those guys I think should be back end of 2nd. I get it. We're in Superflex, but really with that stat that I threw out there from Cooper, which kind of floored me when I heard it. But in addition to the fact that we don't know exactly where the NFL are going to value these guys, and it's very likely they overvalue him because of positional need for a particular NFL team. I like the player, but when you're talking about elite fantasy quarterback seasons, I don't really see it for Penix or Knicks, regardless of where they land.
For me, Pearsall, I thought, was probably the best value. Like, I think Pearsall should be more of an early 2nd round pick, maybe mid 2nd round picks. I really liked that one. Pretty decent spots, I think, for Braylon Allen and Jalen Wright too. But maybe the only one, and I don't know, this was a really sharp group, and it seemed like there were no egregious reaches. I know things sort of drop off after 108, and it gets pretty interpretive for the last 4 picks of the first round. A.D. Mitchell would not be a guy I would have in consideration for the 109. I like him. I understand the size speed combination is really sexy and hard to get away from. And considering that his over under on draft position puts him in the first round somewhere, I get it. But I don't know if he has the polish I'm looking for. I think the floor is just a little concerning for me with the 109 in a good rookie draft.
For me, I'm going to pat myself on the back. I have Marshawn Lloyd as my RB2, and I got him at the low. I like that. Good job, me. Good job, me. Then this one pains me because he's probably my favorite running back as a Michigan fan. I don't see Blake Corum and his size and skill set transitioning to the NFL. I think what he did well in Michigan was being basically a goal line back and getting all the touchdowns. But if you look at his efficiency, it was I heard the stat yesterday. He scored on something like 37 out of 47 goal line touches. That's because I hate Michigan State. That slipped. I'll never live that one down. The Michigan offensive line was so much better than most of the offensive lines they came across. Unless he lands on a team with just a monster offensive line, I just can't see him having the same level of success. So I think he's probably my RB 5 or 6 in this class. So I don't like him there. Thoughts, anyone?
I'm actually kind of a Corum guy. I've got him at RB2. I think he has a pretty high floor. I think he's the best pure runner in this class. Doesn't have the physical tools that some of the other top guys have. He's not big like Braylon Allen. He's not lightning fast like Jalen Wright. It doesn't have that size speed combo of Marshawn Lloyd, but this dude just knows how to run, how to pick holes, really good contact balance. I like him a lot. I mean, it's about where I think he is, maybe within 3 spots of where he should go.
We've been hearing throughout the process that Blake Corum is a very heady player. NFL teams seem to like him. We know Jim Harbaugh loves him. And I think we're all kind of assuming at this point, through hell or high water, that Jim Harbaugh is going to try and get his hands on this guy. And with only Gus Edwards back there in that Chargers backfield, if Corum ends up in Los Angeles, I think that's going to be great for his fantasy value.
Yeah, Jack nailed it. If Corum goes there, we're going to look at 205 and feel like that was a steal.
Very fair. All right, last thing to close it out. Favorite team. Who is it here? Who do you guys got? Who had the best draft? I know it's only 3 picks, but
I mean, I'm personally biased towards mine. I really, you guys would definitely be on the short list.
Nice.
And I mean, team 1, it's hard to argue with getting Caleb and Franklin, but I mean, I think I'll go with Jack just because I think he got such good value on Pearsall. McConkey, I think, is absolutely a first rounder. And, McMillan is kind of one of my favorite sneaky wide receivers who I'm hoping to get like in the 3rd round of my drafts. So
I like that as well. I also am partial to Neighbors, Benson, and Sanat, but that's a buddy at work who listens to me a lot. And so he probably drafted he's higher on those 3 because I'm higher on those 3. The only draft out of all these that I didn't particularly love, I get it's Superflex, but if I'm walking out with 2 quarterbacks, I don't want them to be Drake May and Bo Nix. That's not the 2 quarterbacks. There's plenty of scenarios where I will take 2 quarterbacks in this class. Drake May, Bo Nix is not the combination I'm targeting. What do you guys think? I didn't like that at all.
I'm a big fan of May. I'm terrified that he's going to end up in New England, though, which is probably going to spell doom for his, first couple of years as far as fantasy production. But in terms of just pure talent and, Drake May is a really underrated runner, and I think he's going to add value with his legs from a fantasy standpoint. He's more aggressive a runner than maybe is even good for him at times. But, man, as far as just the pure tools, Drake May is my 102. Like I like him more than Daniels.
I'm more afraid of his landing spot, like you said, than
Sure.
the talent. But I'm not a fan of Nick's at all. So I have one where I hate his likely landing spot, and then the second QB where I just don't like the talent. Really, that's what it is for me.
Yeah.
What do you think there, Jeremy?
Yeah, I agree. I mean, for me, in terms of the best teams here, Pat showed some love to me, so I'm going to show some love for his team, especially in tight end premium. If you get Bowers at 107, just eat up that value all day. He's going to be a monster. It could take a couple of years depending on where he lands, if he lands behind kind of an entrenched guy, but we're expecting him to just from day one just light it up on the NFL field for fantasy. He has that potential, so I love that there. Keon Coleman, we already talked about the value that he presents there, and Will Shipley, again, if he lands in the right spot. So I love that team. And then the other team I like here is the 102. You got Caleb Williams fall to you at the 102. So hard to argue with that. Jonathan Brooks, who we had already talked about, RB1, right? And we've talked about this before, Aaron, as well on the show. And Pat mentioned it. If Brooks did not have that injury, he's the clear RB1 by a mile. So we're all in agreement there. And then Xavier Legette is just an interesting guy to consider here. Pretty new to the wide receiver position, a physical freak. And he has a lot to learn, but if he learns it, oh man, the ceiling is insane for him, I think.
Before we end this, you actually made me think of one thing with you saying Caleb Williams fell. Okay, so the guy drafted at 104 is a coworker, and he sent me the poll I posted yesterday. He owns the 102 in this exact format. The 101 is going to a guy who is dead set on taking Marvin Harrison Jr. So his options, he owns the 102 and the 104. He is high on Neighbors, so he wants to know, should he take Caleb at the 102 and then Neighbors at 104, or take Odunze at 102 and then hope he gets whoever of Williams and who's the third quarterback? Daniels. He went so high, I didn't see him at 104. So basically it comes down to, do you prefer a build with Caleb and Odunze, or Neighbors and Jaden Daniels is what he was thinking? I know I kind of made that a little backwards. What's your thoughts here? Does he just take the value of Caleb at 102?
Yes.
It's too good a value to pass up. Don't overthink it.
I'm with Jack. Yeah, totally. Gotta take Caleb at 102 if he slides.
All right. That's kind of what I thought. And the poll was like 93% saying just take Caleb. Don't overthink it. So, all righty. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in. We will wrap it up and let Pat get back to his busy schedule. Pat, I know everyone knows where you are and what you do. We've got it all over your background. Got anything going on that you'd really like people to check out before we get out of here?
Oh, let's see. I've got a mock Superflex rookie draft, the final one of the pre-draft that's going to be coming out. Let's see. I think should maybe be up later today, or at worst early Thursday morning. And we've got Thor Nystrom on the Fantasy Pros Dynasty podcast this week. So yeah, check it out. Visit fantasypros.com and find me on Twitter at @Fitz_FF. Aaron and Jack, thanks a lot for having me. Really appreciate it. This was
is it just me?
Thank you.
Do you share the same feeling that my favorite mock draft of the entire offseason is the first one I get after the draft, where I don't have to guess landing spots? I love that first one where everyone has a team. Oh, it's my favorite. I can't wait to do it next Sunday or Monday.
I'll be doing one of those on Saturday, the last day of the draft, like right after the draft, writing that up. It'll be on our site Sunday morning.
I can't wait. That's my
Awesome.
favorite. But once again, thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule to join us. You want to check out any of our written mocks or our 150, I think what was it, 154 rookie profiles we did, both IDP and offense, head over to fantasyfootballuniverse.com. Check us out anywhere on social media at the FF Universe. For Aaron, I almost called you Jack because I changed your stupid name to Hollywood Jack. For Aaron, Jeremy, aka Hollywood Jack, and Pat Fitzmaurice, thank you all for tuning in, and thank you to everyone who joined us in the draft room. We will be back tomorrow, continuing on with our divisional previews. Thank you everyone for tuning in. Have a great day. We'll see you next time.